Oh my god, I didn't hit the go live button.
Yo.
Hello everyone. We're here. And I'm going to be brutally honest. We did just spend the last 8 minutes being live, but I didn't hit the go live button.
God,
yeah, haha, deal with that one. No, actually completely insane. That was very... We're cutting things close to the wire today, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's say we're cutting things a little bit close
are.
to the wire. Yeah. So today what we're going to be doing is definitely in a highly prepared fashion. We'll be going through the super chats from the couple streams that we missed. Not from the couple streams that we missed, but particularly one stream from earlier in June where we went for 6 hours and still didn't cover any of the super chats relating to World of Warcraft because there were so many. Certainly distracting. There's so many supers that came in when we were talking about the WoW news, and we didn't want to get distracted. But then by the time that was finished, we actually had a huge amount of FF related ones because I talked about FF at the end of the news, which then resulted in us having a 50 or so super chats to get through.
Yeah.
Which is,
got some fun topics. I'm just going to mirror this over to the Clips channel. So the Clippers know what the crack is.
Oh, yes. I also didn't do any of that. Whoops. So, yeah, we're going to be... how do I put this? We're going to be a little bit more relaxed for a while here. Whereas we have our document ready to go for our full stream at 6:30, which is in less than 2 hours' time. So we will be completely ready to go. And supers will be enabled for that chat again. We just... As we covered before, we don't want to have supers enabled and then not get back to them in time and then end up having this eternal chain of never catching up to supers. Because you guys are, obscenely generous and also, what's the term? Obscenely inquisitive. It's very, very good to see.
YouTube just asked me to verify again. I can't. I've had to verify. Oh, okay. I hit verify me, and now it's there. Yes, cool. We were going to do this stream yesterday, but it's asked me to verify again. Yeah. But of course, Warcraft, which was a little bit of a last minute, sort of down to the wire thing, and
but you know what, worked out pretty well, at least as far as I'm concerned. I thought you did.
Yeah,
just fine.
It was fun. I was extremely nervous about the whole prospect. And then I tabbed over to Twitch. I was like, oh, fuck, it's on Asmongold's channel with 80,000 people. Ah!
Yeah.
But, it worked well.
Also, I just sent you a link to the Notion document where I have all of these supers collaborated.
Ah, yum.
Yes, so...
is that on the Slack?
Yeah. So just start at the bottom and we can work our way up. And if there's anything that sounds familiar, don't do it. But also kind of all a bit scuffed. But you know what? It, how do I put this? Wouldn't quite be us without at least a decent bit of scuff. That's for sure.
Texture, not polish. We're taking that very seriously.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So while we're waiting warmly for Michael to get ready, what's up? What have you guys been up to? Outside of, sigil posting in chat. Talking about Warcraft.
I know. Bro.
Sigil's got him.
He's got the sigils. What are we going to do?
I don't know, dude.
How do we solve this? He's got the fucking sigils, bro.
Also, what are the sigils?
He has them. He has the sigils, man.
That's all I need to know. Yeah.
What? Can you believe it? The chocolate, he done it.
Yep.
I don't know how we're going to get through this now that he has the sigils. It's
brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. Schlest. He's got him. He's got him. Oh, what a fun day. Woke up to some nice clown buffoonery. Now it's time to do a stream. We talked about the Steam Deck just before. Yeah. Steam Deck looks fucking awesome. And I'm going to be making a WoW setup for you guys. I will be making it in advance of the Steam Deck coming out. And I'll try to prototype it on, I don't know, I don't know, maybe I'll stream WoW to another device. Actually, no, I can't do that. That's against terms of service. Shit. I'll work something out anyway. I'll work out a damn proof of concept for a mobile handheld WoW for you guys, and we'll do it.
Yeah,
we'll do it.
That's a Monka TOS. Chili Mang asks, will you guys read super chats today, or is it just a checkup chat? That's what we're going to do. We have all of the super chats in a nice big Notion document, definitely organized. Yeah. Definitely no duplicates. Please scroll to the bottom. and we'll just kind of go through. And if there's anything that we spot that we don't remember talking about, or if anyone who's here who has a super chat that hasn't been answered, give us a shout. We'll respond.
I'm very confused. This doc you sent me's got like 500 super chats.
Yeah, so that's because I didn't finish organizing it because we had to record the news. So if you scroll to the bottom, it's basically very, very slightly organized. So the bottom is the stream where we missed all of the stuff, but we didn't really miss anything from the next streams. Because whenever I said to you before, earlier today that I didn't get this ready, I wasn't joking.
Cool. So we've got an hour and a half to do 534 super chats.
Yeah, no, we don't have to do 530. It's fine.
Did you bring the Coke, dude?
No. I have, no. I'm not even going to make a joke.
I'm just going to be snorting lines of Pepsi. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I was going to make a terrible, terrible joke involving hard drugs, but I decided not to.
That's it.
Hey, Matt, have you looked into Blue Mage yet? Yes, I have a Blue Mage at level 1. That's some of the coolest content I've ever thought of in my day. Or ever seen in my day. Never mind thought. I didn't think of it, they did. But it's just really cool in so many ways. And maybe I'll get into it sometime when I've, experienced it a bit more. But it's very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, so should start from the bottom.
Yes, because that's where the stream kind of was. That's where we kind of left off.
Okay.
But we'll doing this a little bit.
Where to start? Well, I'll start with Razorclaw. So Razorclaw dropped us a super saying, a new Bellular channel coming for FF14 content. How many channels will you guys make? And that is a good question. And actually, it's a chat we've been having internally.
It definitely is.
It's like, put it this way. On the WoW channel, I've got a month of content scoped out, and we're all the boys are working super hard. Let's just say John has been having a lot of fun bringing Gallywix's big cannon into Blender and doing custom shots.
That looks so cool.
Our guys are so good. It's so odd. Yeah. So for the WoW stuff, basically in my head, the way that I play WoW is like this time. I'm getting curve. Obviously, curve rating is what I do. That was always the thing that I looked up to, in the game, right? Like listening to Blue Please, being like, oh, like Total Biscuit's doing his thing. He's going through Syndra Ghost, and then at the same time, I was, in my guild. That's just what I did, And I always have a bit of a chip in my shoulder with that because when my guild killed Arthas, I was on holidays in a motorhome with my parents. And I tried to attend those raids using a 3G dongle. Didn't work. So I was very sad about that. So it's that sort of thing. That's the way that I play the game. So there'll always be content sort of in and around that stuff. And then, if Blizzard decides to do, more things like Dasachrome and just, other like fun bits in the game, there'll be more stuff for me to do there. But it's the lore and the setting and all of that stuff that I love the most. And we have there's fun coming there. As for a new channel, I don't want to just do an FF14 channel because, I don't have the credibility in FF14. Now, I think people are interested in what a WoW player thinks of FF14 as they play. And it's been frustrating. I've not really got to play FF14 in way too long because, funny enough, I've been playing World of Warcraft instead because of raid and getting ready and stuff and IRL bullshit. But I very much plan. It's kind of weird. I want to do all MSQ up to Shadowbringers and kind of do check-in videos, right? Once I hit certain breakpoints, certain, milestones, I guess. There's just so much, right? But it's not really the sort of thing where a channel makes a lot of sense for FF14. To be honest, what I'd like to do, especially after Asmongold and Rich convinced me on New World, funny enough, yeah. I'm really thinking, is there a way we could do a general MMO channel? Is there a way we could do that? I'm not that sure because it's the sort of thing, we only have so much time. And I don't want to overcommit, right? I don't want to overcommit and then not be able to do things justice. So, put it this way. There's a chance we'll probably rename Bellular Gaming to Bellular Warcraft.
Almost certainly in the future.
And there could be a more general channel. Just as an example, here's an issue that I've been thinking through. What happens if I want to stream some FF14, stream some New World? If I do that in the Warcraft channel, it's in a way not fair to the Warcraft channel people because they've subscribed for World of Warcraft content. And if I start sending them, because whenever you get a notification, that is an ask. That is a disruption to somebody's day that, right, you've beeped their phone. Yep. So I don't want to be giving people low quality phone beeps. Right? So, you know, maybe another channel, maybe, you know, it wouldn't be the biggest channel in the universe or anything like that. It would just be like I guess a fun place to do some other things. That could exist. I just don't want to make any big commitments before I'm, you know, 100% sure we could follow through, because it's mean, right? If you don't hit people's expectations good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest concern I have, where we're definitely somewhat over leveraged at the moment, trying to get everything we're currently doing up to fruition because of so many plans, and like with so many plans on the existing like sphere of things, that actually pushing into other things would just be, you know, would it detract from other things? Would it end up kind of ruining all of our plans that are, you know, very, you know, Patreon focused? Because I don't want to shit on those because we feel like doing something else, if you know what I mean. So it's striking the balance of doing what people actually want, doing what we want, and where the best experience for everyone coalesces in the middle of it all.
Yeah,
I think that's the important part.
And then there's the other bit of, like, you know, on game dev, right? Like on the game dev front, I want there to be a lot of content there, because look, I remember the first time like I learned how to use Unity Timeline and started messing around with stuff, you know. I gray boxed out our version of the Hyperion from StarCraft 2. Like, it was very different, but it was like making like a little hub area for monsters, which unfortunately is cancelled. But like, just I love that shit. And, you know, I look at, say, now there's criticisms to make of Star Citizen, obviously, but I love watching their updates because they're just jumping in with devs. Devs are taking you through, like, hey, here's our fucking Nebula technology we've made in engine. And I love that shit. And I really want to do a channel on that with, you know, with Thomas. I want to do a podcast. I think Thomas wants to do it as well, like a podcast, you know, like or maybe a live show podcast, something like that. For, you know, for game dev, because it's like the one thing right now we can't share. I think that people who've watched Warcraft basically know why. You know, we're not self-publishing. Put one and, you know, together, right?
What could that mean?
What could it possibly mean? So soon enough we'll be able to, you know, fully unleash what we're doing. But it's that thing where we feel quite production capped. Like, honestly, I would need to hire a producer, and, you know, just one or two other roles. And it's just one of those things where can we afford it while being responsible? You know, it's just that sort of thing. I mean, put it this way, like the way that I run the company is such that we have a war chest for a rainy day, right? Because, you know, you'd never want to be running so that, you know, you get 60% revenue one month and suddenly you can't afford payroll. Like, obviously. You know, obviously not, but it's the sort of thing where I don't want to overcommit and, you know, overspend and just, you know, those companies, they go too fast and they implode.
Yeah.
And then also it's like, even I need to improve myself as a person and, you know, be more competent and things like that before I even do those big ambitious things. So, yeah, certainly a lot to talk around with that point. I'd say expect a bunch of content. I just can't commit exactly on what it's going to be and look like. So, Vryn Thorn said, if they don't do another full expansion, I just won't resub. It's criminal to pay a full expansion price. Actually, we definitely talked about that on the stream. Let's see, respecting time. It's a fun little topic, like Zillibra saying the problem I've had with WoW is they create a ton of gameplay hurdles to keep you subbed, not because it's engaging, whereas 14 respects time. I don't know enough about, like, that aspect of 14, but the way it's been explained to me is that it's a lot more similar to just, like, VP and JP, and a bit more deterministic, a bit more simple, and you can just sort of set your goal and work towards it, which I really like. And you can do that in WoW, but it's like, you know, the domination shards. If you truly care about that system, I mean, I have one shard. You've killed two more bosses than me, or 3?
I have killed 14 bosses total because 7 both resets. And
I've killed 5 and then 7.
Yeah, so you're on 12 and I'm on 14.
Right. I have 1 shard, you have 8.
Yeah, I have one shard and 1 hole to put it in, and then 7 shards sit in my bag doing hee-haw, like.
Yeah.
It's really something. We'll talk about this at significant length tonight's stream after this, so we will, because that's a big topic that Dakar put a lot of effort into. But that's the thing. On the 14 side of things, it's like hard to speak specifically about like what current expansion, like current patch endgame really feels like. But as far as like getting everything else done, it feels like there's no barrier whatsoever. I mean, obviously on weekly stuff, you've got a weekly cap on your tomes, on your like high-end tomes. You do have weekly lockouts for stuff, but for anything that isn't basically cutting edge in terms of content, you can just go and do it, and it's done. And you can throw yourself into the depths of hell to get something done immediately if you want to. That's generally how they've structured the game largely. It's like I started Baja a while ago. John started yesterday, I think, and he's further ahead than me because he just went, I'm going to do this now. And he did it for ages. Same with like Tom getting his relics. Tom went, okay, I'm going to get all these relics now. And then he's got all the crafter relics, like in the space of a week of extremely, extremely hard grinding. And then he's even got some of the other ones, some of the combat class relics, because he's just grinded like.
Yeah.
Brutal.
I see. I'm trying to work out where we are here.
Yeah. So
I actually feel like most of these we've covered at the bottom.
Yeah. There's. So I couldn't find a specific point of the stream because I went through that stream, or the majority of it today, and I couldn't find the point where, because we were darting back and forth loads and there's loads of stuff skipped in the middle. That was a bit.
Yes. Welcome to the most. Don't worry. The actual news, we've got it all solidly prepped out and a bunch of stuff to do.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it would make sense to like shoot the shit and just be like, hey, could you guys drop us a note if we missed something? Because
that would probably make more sense for that stream in particular because it was kind of deeply, deeply, deeply ad hoc. Deeply ad hoc. Ad hoc, is that even the term? I don't know. The only term I can think of for ad hoc is ad hoc multiplayer, when you could bring 4 PSPs in the same room and play.
Oh yeah,
that maybe. I guess that's what it is.
I think what we can do though is just there's a big list of supers, so let's talk through the interesting things that that at least I don't remember doing super big, or perhaps new stuff's came to light. As an example, like Dastil said, as a lore guy, do you have the feeling that the lore in WoW has got better or worse over time? And that's an interesting one, Dastil, because the lore is getting more interesting and intricate, and I like that. It's just, for me, it's the storytelling is the bit we actually feel when we're playing the game, right? We see the things happen, and I feel like they have an issue with show don't tell going on, and I feel like they're trying to cover so much narrative ground so fast, and, they're doing lots of world building, like filling out Ardenweald with, the Gorman stuff, but not enough to actually be like, hey, Zoval, this is why you care. Sylvanas, here's the hijinks she's up to. It's like too much of that's done via cinematics and things. And it's not done as much, with our characters. And from seeing, Matt playing the later on FF14 content and hearing a bunch of our guildies, who are, big FF players, as it turns out, it seems like that's something that game does pretty decently. I mean, certainly, I just think about Arthas. Like, yeah, he popped up a bunch in Wrath of the Lich King. I think that was good. I know that some people criticized it, but I thought it was good because we actually spent some time with him. And I just wish that we had a bit more of that with Sylvanas. Just some more dialogue and confrontations with her. In the way that we actually did have that in little bits for Warlords of Draenor, Whenever friggin' Blackhand kills Murad, like, that did motivate the raid pretty decently because, you see Yrel be very sad about that. So, like, it worked, but we don't really have as good a version of that you kind of just experience through gameplay now. So, I think the lore, they need to be careful not to minimize the things that people care about in favor of what they find interesting, because they are running a virtual world. I think the lore could get really excellent, really, really interesting. Like, I do like thinking about it and puzzling it through. For me, it's just their in-game storytelling needs work, I think. So, yeah, that's mostly what I think there.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to add to that, because it is basically like they've taken very drastically different directions. But I saw people talk about it earlier today, and I think one of the most important things is the lore has gotten more interesting, but they really missed that bridge to Warcraft. That's kind of the problem, that it's more anything else. Like, I was even thinking there was a page from Grimoire of the Shadowlands where it was talking about the first ones, and I just had this thought. I was like, imagine showing this page to someone and trying to convince, taking the page back in time, or even half the book back in time to like 2016 or 2017, and trying to convince someone it was actually about World of Warcraft. And that's kind of the.
It would be confusing, yeah.
It's not even confusing. They'd be like, "What are you talking about? I don't know a single proper noun on any of this page." It was one that was mostly about like the first ones and like the brokers and stuff like that. But it's just like, this is not, there are thematic links between everything in Shadowlands and between World of Warcraft, and there's obviously the literal link that it is the afterlife. But if you look at it in isolation, you see all these proper nouns that don't mean anything, and you're kind of like, well, maybe is there a hint of that's the feeling why people think the lore has changed?
Yeah, it's a sort of thing where, I think there's a lot of the player base have got less of a willingness to just, less of a willingness for whatever Blizzard are trying to do, if it feels like Blizzard are, moving in the lore in a direction where it does feel like a bit of an ask because something's changing. So the player base is less willing to be okay with that, I think, but then also they are changing up, I think, the vibe of the world quite a bit. So it's like...
definitely.
Yeah, you can't be surprised that people might feel a bit alienated from that. But I hope they can pull it through. Like, look, if a 9.2 means, like, Zoval's actually coming to get Azeroth and we get some Azeroth content and, it actually feels like we're in Northrend, it feels like we're defending our home, like, then, I will be praising Blizzard for doing that if they're going in that direction. I mean, hey, like, we could go to the Sepulchre of the first ones, and it's like, that would be a big ask. It's like, if you take me to the City of Secrets, but you show me the Hamlet of Secrets or the Suburb of Secrets, that's why I'm not super hyped on Korthia. But, like, if they take us to the Sepulchre of the first ones or some new place, and it's actually, like, Argus tier, like, bada boom, this is what we've really been working on, guys. Then I'll be like, okay, shit, you guys took a risky bet, but that looks awesome, so I can be in, even though it feels a bit different. It just, it can't be a bit of a wet blanket. So, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah. That is most of the crack. I mean, for a bit of transparency, I'm going through these super chats trying to get rid of everything that's, that I immediately recognize and remember, but certainly have we really screwed the pooch on actually organizing that in that stream, because I'm reading them like I remember so much of these and so little of the other things. It's very fun, very, very fun. So it is. Oh man, anything else catch your eye particularly?
Not a 1,000,000% sure, because I think early on is loads of super we've actually talked through. Actually, you know what? Kaji saying, Super saying, WoW is my second home. Even if it's burning, it feels devastated / depressing, losing all I gain to change the game, so I just quit. MMOs, I'm a Wrath baby. It's that thing, like, I'm not a Wrath baby, but I came into my own during Wrath of the Lich King, and it's like I totally get the feeling. I mean, right now, the way WoW feels is very different to you're on the boat to the Howling Fjord, right? Yeah. So it's that sort of thing, like, yeah, I'm taking the bits that I can enjoy, and I'm playing the fuck out of them, but, I'm depressed about the other stuff. It's tricky. I guess it's just that thing where WoW, I could monogame that, whereas now for me, WoW is like, is it Mythic Night? Like Mythic Dungeon Night? Or is it Raid Night? It's like, that's the stuff I'm really in for. Yeah. But the other stuff, yeah, it does just get me less. And I'm certainly going to advocate, that we, that WoW is a more complete feeling game. So, people seem surprised about that, but there you go. I think if it was spouting a whole bunch of bullshit, then people would probably, tell us to fuck off because it would be ridiculous. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, almost certainly. Like, I mean, I think one of the important things is friends lists, I find. Because one of the things I've had to sort of struggle with is, logging on first and then getting a load of people into play, as opposed to people already exist there. And that's kind of one of the things where if you see an empty friends list, you're like, well, who's online? No one's about. Not going to log on. Versus the case of your friends list is first full, you'll know people will be around to actually do stuff. So I think that's one of the difficult things is kind of you need people to be there in order for, like, what do you call it? Like spontaneous group activities to occur. You need that place. I mean, Was it even on Warcraft yesterday? You were talking about PvP, and the Richard Asman was talking about like people used to hang out on the wall in Mists.
Yeah. And like that was good for me to hear because I was never much of a PvP community person. Like the most I had interacted with the PvP community was Swifty in a paid promo convincing me to buy a Razor Naga years ago when I was a kid, and it was like Wrath or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I know it was paid promo, but I had a good time with that mouse. Absolutely legendary. And that is a big thing. Yeah, the PvPers getting their shared space. Like I thought that was a cool part of Borealis. Actually, I loved how there's like a little PvP area and a little fighting ring. I think they could do more there, and I really hope they do because a lot to think about there. And like that thing on the wall, it's like I don't think that was even super prescriptive. Is prescriptive the word? I don't think that was like a super intended thing. It just naturally popped up.
It was outside. There were PvP vendors there. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
People are going to PvP there.
I'm just thinking,
there you go.
What happens if, just a small group of people at Blizz, right, they get some assets, they think, okay, we're going to make a PvP hangout area. Let's make it as cool as we can.
Yeah.
And, if there's loads of different narrative framings. I mean, just ways you could do that. If it's an expansion where it's the Horde and the Alliance, but they're not necessarily fighting each other, you could totally do that PvP thing as like a sort of a shared space. Like imagine if you had this like crazy broker area in, imagine you've got these like little brokers nestled away in Oribos and like, hey, come over here. You go through a little portal and you're into this like Tazavesh kit styled like big PvP competition area where the Alliance and the Horde can just, chill out, have some fun, do some PvP, have some vendors. Like, man, that would be so cool.
Yeah, that's the stuff that would make World of Warcraft feel more homely in than the current kind of case with the instance heavy content. Because even then, instance heavy content doesn't necessarily mean there's no hangout spaces. It's kind of it's almost like the tower in Destiny 2, where if you had that, but more actual gameplay oriented, it would be really, really cool. Just to actually have something to do there. Like, I mean, it's like even the layout of where like the training dummies are and all, they're not really useful or interesting. Whereas, even on even in Borealis, you used to go over, there'd be a new patch drop and you would go over to the training dummies and you'd see a load of people there doing training dummy stuff. And you're like, oh, I guess this is, these are people who are trying out new rotations or trying out like new talents and stuff like that. And I thought that stuff was really cool.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but well, before we move on, I'm just going to address one thing in chat. Yes, cameras, big better. These cameras have all been replaced with significantly better cameras, and that's why I have a very ginger beard. It's funny, it actually, the longer it grows out, the more ginger it gets.
Hang on, I can help you, man.
All right.
Hang on.
I have no idea what he's doing, by the way.
It? No!
What's he got? Oh, has he lost it?
Okay, so...
Yep.
Right. It's not Chaos Black.
Yeah, just...
Is this the solution?
No, I don't think it is.
Ah, darn.
Yeah, no, it's a case of, like, my hair is really dark, but my beard grows out ginger, and that's just the curse of this ethnicity, I guess.
That's
an
Irish man thing, isn't it?
Yep, almost certainly.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Oh, man. So Faldra in GW2 dropped a super. Said, FF14 is a rare game that actually made me sit down and contemplate events after beating a boss in Shadowbringers. Hard to think of a similar moment in WoW that made me feel the same. And that is an interesting one. And I have had those moments in WoW. Like there's some parts like the Azaria story where you stop and you have a little think about, what happened. When Varian died. Right? I thought like that Varian cinematic was just handled perfectly. Sylvanas taking up the leadership of the Horde. Like when that was actually framed, the way that it was framed there, I was like, oh, okay, this could actually... I don't really like where it went after that, but, those are like moments that really made me think. That said, like, it's that thing. I've not done the Shadowbringers content or any of the FF expansion content, so I do not know. I certainly hear, though, a lot. And if I was to speculate in what it is based on my limited ARR experience, it would just be that you spend just a lot more time doing RPG-style dialogue with characters, and I think that just means you're going to be more invested. Plus, stuff's well-written. So, well-written, well-translated, narratively designed well.
Yeah, it's very fun because I've recently been going through a couple of the older things, like the older bits of quest text, little bits of like almost the really super tiny details that I personally missed when I was playing through Shadowbringers that other people are highlighting. even place names, bits of dialogue from 2.0 that's brought up to 5.0, 5.3. I'm just like, god damn. And it's just the people who remember that, you can tell the people who are bringing this up now are those people who have played New Game Plus at 2.0 recently or really remembered the dialogue because of how it's delivered. And it just has this thing where it's just, I guess it is just immaculately written, even if it is mostly listening to dialogue or reading dialogue, because voice acting's not super heavy till much later.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens when they swap it over to the new voice actors in the expansions.
Oh, it's night and day.
Yeah, so I hear. I've not heard the new voice acting on purpose because I don't want to spoil myself on that stuff, but it is a bit weird that like expansion happens, people sound different.
It's very jarring, exceedingly jarring.
I mean, it seems like it was the right play.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on it, but how do I put this correctly? So I almost had an awakening to. I haven't actually went and listened to lots of them, but I've been watching a lot more like British kind of TV stuff on YouTube and seeing like a lot of kind of more classical actors exist. I'm just like, oh, I can see almost like, the comedian circuit on like British TV shows where they'll do all of the panel shows and you'll see them like consistently hone their skills, and then they'll do panel show rotations for like years, and then they'll drop like a special or something, or like a tour that's really, really like impeccably honed. And you can tell it's because they've had this little like almost this little circuit of stuff where it's all hyper public, but it's like brutal, where you need to be, you need to be good enough to earn the spot on this panel show. The radio and like drama actors do the same thing with like radio shows and stuff. So they have that constant practice against all this stuff. And then that's why, because the reason I'm bringing this stuff up is because the new voice actors are mostly like kind of British actors.
Yeah.
And all like heavily involved in BBC radio stuff. And you can tell that the style of the dialogue being that kind of older English style, and how those voice actors are trained in comparison to American voice actors who are kind of more filmic in a way, and a little bit more, like in the video game side of things.
Yeah.
A lot of these people have like almost no credits in video games. They're just radio. They're British radio people.
How did it go down like that? Like, how do they find them? What made them change? Like, I wonder.
I think it might have been two things primarily, maybe three. Number one is I feel like the voice acting in 2.0 was very hit and miss. Like, it was done fairly quickly.
Yeah, fair.
And then I think the second one is probably cost, because I believe it was the Screen Actors Guild. They moved away from using voice actors connected to that.
Right.
And obviously the point is, if you use a Screen Actor Guild person in your production, you basically have to use all of them.
Oh.
There's something like that.
Okay, interesting.
Where if you can't have people from outside that clique in your production, you have to populate with them. But that like lets them be significantly more expensive because they have like a corner on the market, especially because they use a lot of like bigger name American VAs versus using a whole bunch of nobodies from radio dramas and stuff. But they're so much better suited to it that I think it's like
that's interesting.
Really cool. And it might also just be a localization decision to go kind of more Englishy for Heavensward in particular, because it's all French nights and stuff. But it was very, 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 very good. Very, very good move, generally.
Interesting. It's funny, like I'm looking at this list of 500 super chats and I'm really struggling to know what's what.
Yeah.
There are certainly some interesting things to talk about. Just I don't know if it's like things we've talked about before. Like, there's one here from Greg Nardilio who said, do you think there's anything they could do to make the old zones relevant again? It's depressing to quest through an empty world. Could revitalize the game. And it's like, man, that's even, that touches on some stuff we were talking about in Warcraft yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like you could do a massively revamped time walking, and like, okay, put it this way. I want a reason for my character to be in a hard version of Shadow and Burial Grounds or Auchindoun.
Yeah.
I really want that. And I want it to be more than just for an eye level 226, do 4 time walkings or 5, whatever it is, get a bit of loot. Like, I want that to be like a fully supported system in the game, Like, just imagine there's a VP and JP system. But, I could get my JP via doing the current day dungeons, which maybe would also give you VP. But maybe I could get something else by doing the older dungeons. And, maybe you'd have... I don't know exactly how to do it because I don't understand that full thing on FF from the top end perspective. Yeah. But it seems like it's something all the FF people are very jazzed about. It certainly made my experience as a Sprout better. I'd love it if WoW could do that. And then I'm just thinking how do you apply that to the old zones? I mean, there's a bunch. You could do some pretty simple stuff, like taking the tech they've made for party sync, but then maybe properly codifying it into some sort of time walking-ish, system with some rewards and incentives, or even just simple things like adding in way more in the way of achievements and rewards. I mean, if there's some people they're not interested in doing Lore Walker, but let's just say there's an Eastern Kingdoms transmog set, a Calendar transmog set, that would totally get people doing that content on their mains, right? That's even a simple way to do it. Yeah. There's so many ways. I mean, you could do some sort of thing where, you do the sync, so the levels are all, the difficulty is in a decent place, then I guess it's working out what kind of, do you just get quest points, and then there's some, new time walking vendor, but could that end up with some sort of degenerate gameplay patterns? It's kind of hard to say. So a tricky one to solve, just given that the game has been developed without that consideration in mind. But certainly if they had stuff like that as an expansion feature, I mean, it'd be big hype.
I mean, this actually made me think of something where it's the idea of the heritage armors being just, do this new quest line, have exalted rep with whatever it is, and then you're off to the races. You've got it perfectly fine. I feel like one of the smartest ways they could probably do that is have you really relive everything that race gets up to. So imagine even just in a really, really lazy way, where if you want the Night Elf heritage armor, whenever it appears, you go do every quest relevant to Night Elves or Elves. I mean, that's kind of difficult because people will have lore master already, which is one of the problems you can kind of encounter with that gameplay wise. But it's just the ideas of that would be really, really. I mean, I guess you could just do it with a new rep or something, but it's just that thing of live the journey of all of these races, understand everything they've been through, even if it just means doing Darkshore and Ashenvale for Night Elves, and then doing Durotar, Barons, Ashenvale for Orcs, stuff like that, just as little prerequisites, or even just to do it fresh and new and a little bit quicker. Stuff would just be really, really handy.
Yeah,
really handy.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a few. Where was I? Yes. Yeah, Deathsight basically asked, given Blizzard's issues and all of that, what would it take for us to go full-time FF14? And for me, I mainly brought that up because I really love WoW raiding. It's a type of content I really respect and love, and it's aspirational to me. So the answer to that is, I'm never going to go full FF14 at the expense of WoW, and frankly, FF14, content-wise, for what I would probably be doing in that game, it's a thing to play in between WoW. That's why, the patch 9.1 comes out, Sanctum of Domination's out. My, unfortunately, right now, quite limited gaming time has went into WoW instead of FF14. But a lot of that's just because I know the stuff I'm doing in FF14 is evergreen, right? It's going to be great in 2 weeks' time, right? So, for me, it's where in WoW I would previously be just doing some other things, and maybe the game doesn't support some of those things as well, I would, I'd be playing FF. I'm probably going to play both. I think I'll have an active sub to both games for ages. And then we'll have to see what happens with New World, because goddamn, Zach and Rich really sold me in that. I was surprised.
Yeah, they got you real, real good, so they did. Yeah,
and there was another one from Nino who just said, every change needs to come with a reason behind the why. The Team Fortress Team 2 did this when they still existed. Went far for understanding. Yeah, it's on domination sockets, the best we've got or domination shards is Jeff Hamilton basically saying, look, we can't tell you exactly how it works because then it would cause an information disparity between the players and that would have a fairness issue, but basically kill bosses and the system will take care of you. And it's like, that's the best we got, and that's not very satisfying to people who, I've only got one, so I don't really, I don't care about domination stuff to the point where I don't care about that. But certainly if I was a Mythic Raider and I was really trying to progress and maximize my character, I wouldn't feel satisfied with that. So yeah, I think they just need to bring back those Ghost Crawler style dive water cooler blog posts, things like that. Basically, they need to get more of the sort of topical interviews stuff. They, instead of like going to do a talk with Mike, I think they just need to be able to sit Ian or whoever down and, just be a situation like, hey, look, we know you guys we've read your feedback. We know these are the issues you're facing. Let's have a chat. Things like that.
Yeah, no, that's like basically one of the most important things they could do to stop the community kind of bleeding as it is. For like just some direction, some kind of, not even hope, but just some, all right, how's it going? This is what we're up to. We are actually humans. We're not just, we're not just like drones under the control of the big evil entity of Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, we're people with ideas and thoughts and stuff. What's happening? Here's where we went wrong. Here's where we went right, etc., etc. But just in the more transparent form, instead of like it's kind of a problem when you've got a 30-minute interview and you've 500 points to hit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you kind of have to nuke it like.
We talk about some of these issues and it lasts for 6 hours.
Yeah.
You just need more time.
Yeah.
There's a super from Morty J who said, greetings from across the pond in Texas. When my chocobo became my fighting companion, I could dye its feathers and armor, and my jaw dropped. This is from a 15-year plus WoW Hunter main.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a... Cool.
Yeah, you've got your dye, you've got it's got its own 3 skill trees that you can progress towards, which also takes a long time, by the way. My chocobo is anywhere near done.
That's cool.
Like, it's probably, I don't know, millions of experience points away from being anywhere near complete. But just the fact that you can go and earn barding for it, that's specifically cool armor, and then dye it through not just like apply a dye, I think it's actually a process where you have to like, I think it's with the kudzu carrots or something like that. And you have to grow the right food to feed it, and then it'll, change its feather colors. I believe so. That's anyway, cool. Something like that. But it's just the kind of attention to detail where it's like, it's not a system. It's a system, but it's not a system.
Yeah. I think that the more that Liz could do that, the better. I'd love to see them, make a mount, and then instead of like doing some dyes or some tints and then spreading them across the content, I'd love to just see them, do a mount, make that mount really hard to get, and then just have a whole thing for unlocking the different tints. Like, imagine a mount and then it's got an artifact weapon style thingy selector. If you were going to do it that way, because I doubt they can do that super systemically with their engine, just giving you color pickers and stuff and different dyes. I'd love to see them do that. And there was a little hint of that in Mechagon.
Yeah,
with the cat that you could paint.
That's cool.
For me, it was just, I think I didn't really like the cat mount, so I wasn't super into it. But I like the idea, and I'd love to see them do that more. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And also, just that idea, what you said there about the chocobo, like, I guess it has a little bit of utility beyond just being a fast mount and all that. I'd love to see them do stuff like that. You could just break mounts down into mount classes, like horse, dragon, etc., and have them do some cool stuff, give them a little tree. You could just say, oh, but the balance of that might not be perfect. To which I say, I'm fine to have a mount be based in a certain situation if it means that the mounts are really cool. I see people play Guild Wars 2, and it's like they want to go fast in a straight-ish line. They get the beetle and they go whoosh. They want more WoW-style movement, so they use a dragon, or they want a lot of the speed, so they use like those flappy wyvern griffin things that they've got in that game. So, there's a lot we could do with mounts. I think Blizzard should do it. It would just be another great way to reward people, and I think it would make people care about mounts more.
Yeah, for a little tiny bit of flavor on the chocobo stuff, it is your chocobo companion that you get at level 20 now. That is the only one that fights for you. That is almost like your hunter pet. That's just that pet.
Yeah, I've just got him, but mine can't like fight yet. I haven't unlocked that.
Yeah, so once it does that, then it's thing. But you don't use an instance content. It's only for open world stuff. So it is basically only for questing and for like doing fits and stuff. And sometimes it can be a real game changer, but it's really cheap to have out. And balance just doesn't matter because it's used nowhere that balance is a concern, ostensibly. So you're like, whatever. I actually do have a super here that we did genuinely miss. And there was Tyler Lindsay DeLise who supered us a couple times saying we missed it. So I've got it here.
Let's
it
go.
Is, the GCD. This is about FF. The GCD is designed like it is to be able to teach the game to people brand new to video games. It's not bad, specifically because it was made to be a slowly growing ability curve that players get used to. Early dungeons early dungeons too, meaning they're the same in that they're extremely light on mechanics, and then they just kind of curve up over and over in time. But that's the victory that FF gets from being a linear game, where you do have to go through all of this teaching content to get to the end of it. Whereas, like, in WoW, you can just hop into Shadowlands, especially with your boost. I mean, you can boost in FF as well, which sometimes may not go all that well if you haven't been taught mechanics and you boost to a certain level and get wrecked in raid. But, in FF...
Who could you possibly be referencing?
I don't know, but in FF, it is designed for, people who don't play games, people who actually are, like, completely brand new to video games, to spend hours and hours getting used to mechanics, which, like I said, isn't ideal for people who are, like, avid WoW players hopping over, because they're going to spend hours and hours being bored out of their minds with, one button, and then, oh, look at that, I've spent 20 hours playing, I get a third button, let's go. Now we're talking big DPS, but it just kind of ramps up, and then, by the end of it, hopefully, I mean, I'd love to see the actual numbers on this, but I'd love to see how many players started off with, like, FF being, like, their first game. Not maybe first game overall, but the kind of first video gamey experience that's actually, like, requires decent reactions and decent understanding. I'd love to see how much of them actually make it through the whole way through the game, and what, like, almost how many converts, like, how many casuals has the game converted into sweaty raiders.
I'd be very interested in that. And yeah, I was watching Zach do the coil. Was it C8? He got the 8th.
It was second coil turn 4.
Okay, yeah.
Second coil turn 4.
It looked neat, and that's like the old ARR stuff. Actually, I remember you were, because we were doing a whole bunch of manual work in here, and you put on some FF fight music, and I was like, wait, whoa, hang on, that's fight music from a video? What?
Yeah, it was...
Because, I'm so used to, like the Siege of Orgrimmar Sith chanting. Like, I'm so used to, like, that sort of thing. It was, like, such whiplash. But, it seemed cool. So, it's interesting. Like, WoW, you can get by in WoW knowing, like, this much. And then you hit a Mythic Plus, and it's like your informational requirement is like, BAM! So I feel like there's loads of players who, they're wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, really excited to get into some dungeons. They love the art, they love the characters, they love the vibe of WoW. But... they bump into a Mythic Plus dungeon, or even just a Mythic where people are going gigafast because, we outgear them now. And then they're like, whoa, what is going on? I'm so confused. They get into Mythic Plus, and, someone's like, you didn't dispel the thing. You didn't trank this. You didn't do that. And the player's like, wait, what's a dispel? What's a trank? I mean, is that what this thing? But, they were never taught it in the gameplay. Right? So they're... big going on there,
yeah. It's for those core mechanics. I mean, not to say that FF is perfect in that front either, because if you, like, unless you're really good at literally looking through how to play things correctly, there's just a lot of shit you will not know unless you look up a guide for, like, optimal stuff. Even though it's designed so it's relatively clear, much in the same way WoW rotations are designed to be relatively clear, but you don't know what's optimal until you look it up. FF is largely the same problem, where you're like, wait, how do I orchestrate any of this in my head? Like, I think one example is figuring out the optimal opener on, like, Bard would have taken me a long time to set out and math out the potencies, especially when you bring random procs into consideration, where you're like, well, I don't know how early I should be applying this because I don't know how much the random proc chance impacts, should I have my dots up a little bit before I use Wanderer's Minuet, or should I, pop that immediately, because you literally can't math it out without a spreadsheet. And that's the case for some of the classes as well. So it's not all like the game teaches you everything. It's just like the kind of move out of this, move into this mechanics. It does, but everything else is still like, it is still, you rely on the community to do a lot of the groundwork for high end play, which I think is basically the case in every game anyway.
That's just always how it's going to be. I think it's just the, it's on more fertile soil if FF is sort of taking its time slowly or something. It's like the way that FF like pushes you into like the newbie training thing, I quite like. And okay, what it's teaching is very basic shit. Like it is very basic shit. But you know, they set it up that it's like you should be learning and you should be figuring these things out, which I did like. I think FF could actually do a lot more there. I don't know how far it goes, but I like what they did. And it's like Blizzard, they were so close. I mean, the Proving Ground, I think, is an awesome bit of content. Great idea. I just love to see them, you know, keep at it. Maybe just do a little bit more. And I do think, you know, look, you should have to get a gold Proving Ground before you can queue for anything above a normal dungeon. I disagree with the silver. A gold Proving Ground's really easy. Like, there's so many times, you know, I'd be, like, first time playing a healer, I'd go in and I'd be able to get a gold Proving Ground in, like, 2 or 3 attempts. And that's, like, literal first time playing a healer at max level, or I don't have muscle memory or, like, game sense for any of their abilities. Yeah. And, you know, in almost no time, I could do a gold Proving Ground. That was back in Legion, of course, when I was, you know, doing all the stuff for the different classes. So I think just Blizz needs more stuff there, and certainly the Proving Ground, you know, that was made in an era where M+ didn't exist. There needs to be a Proving Ground or something like that that can just help to teach people like the M+ style of things, because that's the style of that content. And I think the more we can bring people along and up to that level, the happier everyone will be. So I think big prio on that.
Yeah, it's weird because the mechanics, I personally find it's hard to figure out where the line goes for mechanics you should be able to intuit and mechanics you should literally be able to do. But I feel like there's definitely some sort of design language that might need like codified, kind of like how FF has, although it's, you know, FF is very much in line with being so divorced from what's actually in game that you can see it as it is basically almost a 3D UI element in how it feels versus the swirlies in WoW, where, you know, they may not stand out to you immediately, but they look more diegetic. They, you know, it makes sense. Oh, there's a blue swirly because an ice ball's about to land there. Where in FF, you know, you hear this like pulsing noise that's clearly game noise, and then you've got big arrows that are glowing and pointing at people, and you kind of think, well, that's a bit weird. Same with like even the orange marker on the ground. You're like, well, that's not diegetic. It's clearly game communication, as opposed to world communication, which is very different. And I think we'll probably generally better with combining that. I just wish they would have outlines. That's my biggest problem.
That's what I want from WoW. Just a little outline, because sometimes there's a swirly and you're not quite sure.
Yeah.
Or even like it was a stupid death I got on one of our Painsmith wipe in that last raid, where, you know, I was operating based on the lines of the grid and the floor, and my character, like, if I was playing a bullet hell, I would have been totally fine.
Perfect,
Because if you look at where my character died in the video, like, it was seriously, it was like beyond the edge of the little grid, but the effect was just larger, and it's like, I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a point to make on that about the spikes in Painsmith. And I think I said this in Raid. I'm not sure how many people sort of followed immediately, but because even, like, I basically picked this up even watching the Race to World First, where I went, okay, I can see the spikes are up, but the blue thing that spawned the spikes are gone. Can I walk through the spikes? Basically testing how tight can I cut this?
Yeah.
And as soon as the spikes are there, you can walk through them completely fine. Like, the spikes aren't what hurt you. It's the spawn of the spikes after the blue marker disappears. And that's really unintuitive, I think. I mean, to be fair, I would defend FF's gameplay for being unintuitive, because it makes, you know, because you move out when the cast bar's done, animation's really long and really, really intense, but you can stand in it as long as you were out when the cast finished, because your position was snapshotted. So I kind of feel like if I were to give the same courtesy to World of Warcraft, I would say that it's actually, Painsmith is really, really cool to me. Whenever I know that's the literal fraction of a second I can move, is when that blue stuff is gone. Yeah. And it means that, like, I'm like on my screen, I'm walking through spikes all day long, but I know it's because I've paid attention to when these mechanics happen. So if they could, like, codify that in terms of when it's, you know, have some visual language to make it solid so people know when that stuff's done.
It's like, once you have that in your head and you've worked it out, like, it just lets some mechanics click. I mean, Painsmith is one of my favorite fights in a long time. I don't know why I love Painsmith so much. I just think it is so well designed. And, like, that's only playing it normal. I can't wait to hit Heroic. And I was watching the Mythic streams, and I know that it's a little busted. how the intermission phase is in Mythic, but I did look at that and I thought, oh fuck, that's really cool.
No,
so
thank you.
maybe a version of that is, you know, a little different, so it doesn't feel like you can have things overlap in such a way that, you know, you've got to jump off the platform and disengage back on, or do, you know, funky business, because that funky business shouldn't be happening. But I mean, I just love to see a slightly more pumped up version of Paintsmith. So I am very excited for heroic progression this time around.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really like the raid so far.
Yeah, I really
getting excited thinking about it.
I really love watching Paintsmith on Mythic on the Race to World First, purely because the part where they just go, no, there are no gaps in the spike this time. Make your way through it. Do what you can. Is like, it's something I would generally disagree with mechanically, because it is going, hello, Mythic Raiders, you have to do busted shit to survive this. It's not like, it's not super clean design where, you know, you dodge the thing, you're done. It is, you can't dodge this. Use abilities at your disposal to cheese this mechanic, which I think is kind of, you know, if it was in Heroic, I'd rage. But the fact that it's in Mythic, I think it's really, really smart to go, like, almost completely codifying into the boss, like, encounter design. Use your bullshit. Like, because, you know, whenever there are soak mechanics and then people immune them?
Oh, yeah.
And that feels like, oh, I cheated. And then, you know, when that gets out of hand, you've got, you know, let's bring, was it Kill Jaden, I think, where it was like, let's just bring paladins and mages, because ice block and bubble, we can just, you know, cheat, basically.
Yeah.
And then they kind of struggle with that, so they just kind of kill you through it or rely on that less. I feel like just going, oh, you've got ways to cheat, but we'll just make it so hard that you need to cheat to actually get past. And I think that's like a really good aim for like hyper high difficulty. And I thought that was just something that really impressed me about like where they're going with design, and in such a obvious way as well. It's not just like, this is so hard you need to immune it. It's no, literally the game in all of its language is saying, you better have a way to get through this. I love it. Like,
yeah,
I love it.
It's interesting. There was one from where
It's gone.
I've just lost it. Yes, it was from Habu, who said, you guys should definitely get in touch with Zeepla. She's a very wholesome FF streamer. I think she'd probably have some fun insights regarding the games. She's on the EU data center as well. To which I would say, you know, we should totally do stuff like that more. Yeah. Totally. And, you know, it's like just seeing even how the guys ran Warcraft got me thinking, like, okay, how could we bring on guests? How could we, like, evolve the show and do things? Yeah. So, you know, not quite there yet, because basically we are living in a realm of chaos right now. But I'd love to do stuff like that, you know? Just slip in DMs and be like, hello there, Mike. Would you like to chat about some things? And, you know, do a thing, you know? Yeah, it would be fun. So I would like to do more in the future. Just need to see how it goes. And frankly, if I'm gonna invite on Zeepla, I certainly I do need to be more progressed than I currently am in FF, because I want to be able to properly get into things.
Yeah, well,
for sure.
Let's do it then, Forehead.
Yeah, well, you know, we've got Mythic Saturday, Raid Sunday, Mythic Monday again with the guild.
Mythic every day. That's the future. Just Mythic Plus every day until we bleed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. I certainly do. So
where are we? We've got a fun one from Technic, who said, the way Jagex's approach to OSRS was the most perfect way to regain player trust. What do you think WoW would look like with content polling? You know, that's an interesting thing, because with OSRS, like, I don't know exactly the sorts of things they've added into OSRS, but that's kind of like, it's a more sandboxy game, right? Definitely. OSRS. So it's kind of like, hey, this is a sandbox you're playing in. Do you guys, you know, you guys have your say in how we run this sandbox, how we change things up. I think it's a bit different for a theme park MMO like World of Warcraft. I mean, I'd be interested to see how it would go, but I would worry that, you know, you could just get quite easily led astray by polling and stuff like that, where, you know, I just feel like polling could lead you in a whole bunch of whims and stuff of a player base, where really for a theme park MMO, it's like, what is the developer doing? That's the thing that we get. And if they're really good, you know, they'll be surprising us with exciting, novel things that we didn't see coming. And that's like just the most exciting thing as a player of games, to like see what the devs have cooked up. It's something we didn't expect. It's something we didn't know they could do. And wow, it's really cool. So I think a little bit of polling on things that impact UX and the player experience, but in core content, not to say that I'm like super auteur in how I think about it, but it's like, it's the dev's job to get that bit really good and surprise us and excite us and delight us. And I'm not sure polling's the way to do that. Just with OSRS, it's a sandbox. So if we're tweaking the variables of the sandbox, then I think polling makes a good bit more sense.
Yeah, I think there's something else about the difference between the two games that's very important there. And that OSRS is decidedly old school.
Yeah,
it's
very much.
It's decidedly complete. And it's like, it's not the child of the developer. It's the child of the developer and the community. Because, you know, they were the ones who petitioned to have it brought back, etc., etc. So I could kind of see polling working for like a Classic Plus situation. But for the actual live game, as it's being developed, I feel like the issues with community should likely be solved by a change of heart of the developer to start paying attention to the community a little bit more, and to kind of bridge that gap in terms of what they're making and why, as opposed to, like, I don't want to say outsourcing it to the community, but I feel there would be a lot of the, like you say, the excitement kind of lost if, you know, if we know everything that's going to be made and we all have a vote on it. Because it,
Yeah.
I mean, as a community, we fight enough about things that we aren't voting over. So I mean, I wouldn't want a vote to come up and go, all right, next expansion, here's a new version of like the Covenant system with a load of changes. Let's have a big discussion and vote on it, everyone. I feel like that would be such a complete mess that it's just, I feel like they would really struggle to get a good signal through the massive amounts of noise from the community.
Yeah, probably.
It's a kind of, it's up to them to make something and think of all the outcomes and how that affects each player and then go for it. I think that's generally more, like you say, their job to do versus the community's.
Yeah, yeah. And that's not in a way that's like dismissive and like, oh, it's their job, don't rely on the community. It's like, no, the reason why they're pros at that is because they're pros at that. Like, it should be that when they do that job, they do it better than us.
Yeah.
For sure. So here's the thing, right? I'm going through this list of supers, and I'm actually at a bit where there's a few supers referencing when is the super catch-up stream.
Yeah.
So you know what? I do wonder if the best thing for us to do is actually just to shoot the shit for an hour, you know, hang out with chat and maybe set up like a forum. You know, if there's a miss super, people can just, you know, let us know and we can do it that way. Because I'm also aware that us looking through a massive spreadsheet is probably not the best stream content for everyone.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
no, like it certainly.
I mean, there's certainly a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, things going on. One sec. I'm just going to pop to the bathroom and
go for it.
Perhaps I will have a massive think for content while I'm there.
Dear, a massive think.
Massive think.
Not another one. So, what is up, chat? What do you got? There's Michael stretching in the background. Let's narrate his leaving, and he's stretching his neck. Oh, those chests getting a bit of stretch. Yes, and what's happening now?
All this streaming,
sitting
in the chairs. What we need.
Yep.
What we need.
Standing stream desks.
Everyone.
Hello.
What we need is like to crank this desk up. Like imagine. Hang on, our cable management totally support. Just get like a bunch of car jacks. So before every stream, we're just we kind of crank
car
up
jacks,
the table,
right? Okay.
and then we can do it so we don't ruin our backs. Because my god,
I mean, I'd rather have
my back is fucked.
I mean, I'd rather have a motorized one, to be honest. But you know what?
Let's go.
Yeah, just get 4 car jacks. Let's go.
Want me to pick you up a water from the fridge?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. All right. This is explain the mustache. How do I explain the mustache? So, basically, you don't want to see what I look like with this hair and no facial hair. It completely throws off everything about how I look. So, the fact that this is really gingery is just something I live with. But, I mean, this is how I look generally. This is... I'm trying something out for a while, given the excuse that COVID brought to not get a haircut. That's kind of it. But let's see. What else is going on? Gaming desks. Adjustable desks you can do standing at. Yes. I actually have one at home. And it's great. Honestly, I mean, it can be a little bit expensive just to stand up at a desk. But if you've got a bit of money going around, absolutely get a standing desk, especially if you like work at home or something like that. Or you spend a huge amount of time at your PC. Because the idea of just like standing up, it completely changes how you feel at that moment in time. Playing games standing up is really interesting. I think I've never felt quite as focused in Raid than whenever I, figured, I'm home from work, I was sitting down all day, I'm wrecked, but it's time for Raid on a Wednesday. How am I going to feel a little bit more alive? How am I going to do that? Oh, I guess I'll stand up. And then I stood up, and literally just standing up, focusing, was like, oh, this is a game changer. It's genuinely a game changer. So definitely go for it. Let's go. What else? Matt, when can we next grab a pint? Sometime, Thomas. Just not anytime the next week, maybe. Let's see, what else? What else we got to say? Have I had the chance to check out the FF14 Tales from the Shadow short stories? I've had chances, but I've completely conveniently forgotten. But then, this is the problem, right? That sounds really cool. That stuff looks really good. But it's kind of the same problem Michael runs into when he's trying to play FF. It requires actual focus because you want to read something, you want to think about it, you want it to percolate, you want to keep it in your head. But with being busy with stuff, it kind of gets to the point where, especially actually with the weather, it's so unbelievably hot here that it's so difficult to just focus for a long time when you're just sweating all over the place. So the idea of like reading something that's like even just a little bit, it requires focus, so it takes the back seat to everything else. But it is certainly fun. Who made your intro? The intro was John. John made the intro. John made the intro. He makes a lot of our stuff, and it's very, very cool. Let's see. What else? There he is.
Hello.
Hello, he's back with some water. And now that we've got a pretty good camera, and I don't know how well this autofocus will work, but you can actually see how cold it is from the condensation.
It's not autofocusing.
Is it not? Okay.
I can hit the button.
Alright, let's just cover
So
up
here's the
the...
thing, the focus in this camera, like the autofocus is awful in these Blackmagics.
Okay, right.
They're cinema cameras that are like really designed to be a bit more manual. There you go.
I see.
Lovely cold water. Woo!
Yep.
Alright, let's focus you back in.
Fucking target acquired. Oh, man.
Come on, Mr. Camera. There, it's got you.
So, how is work with Bellular?
Oh,
Louis Miller, you don't want to know. This is, let's call it a
hurting the cat.
roller coaster ride. How do I embellish that any further?
Bit of a shit roller coaster.
So imagine the Dark Moon Fair roller coaster. It's kind of that. No, it's honestly it's fine.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of like personal bullshit. We've had a bunch of other bullshit. So it's just been like, but I actually feel like we're getting out of it. And, you guys, you'll see like how our video schedule in the main channel is over the next while, where we're just doing way less like here and now gameplay content. We're focusing way more on just the stuff we're more interested in, like a lot of the lore, a lot of the like the backstory, just some cool shit that I think is really entertaining. Especially now that I've seen they've made nukes. The boys have made nukes.
The boys have made.
I think John has done like a little thing with a mana bomb.
Or
Something.
Dear.
I saw they were talking about in the work Slack. So it's been good fun.
Oh, that's unreasonable. That's unreasonable. I guess there's the other thing. Rich Campbell wanted to ask Bellular, what major or minor changes would you make right now to save WoW? Because you didn't get to answer that because I believe he carried on with another point and then you responded to that, so you didn't actually get to answer that yesterday. So what's your thoughts?
It's tricky because that's a lot to be. It's a lot to just be like, just make it all good. Which does be, it's quite hard. So I'm trying to work out how where do I start basically. Where do I start? Like, are we talking about quick little small changes that we can make to the game moving forward? Or are we talking about Shadowlands but a bit different?
So, I guess the actual phrasing of what he said was, I believe, what major or minor changes would you make right now? So it's kind of my thought of that was, what would you literally, like, if you had complete control, just assume complete control of Blizzard, what would you do right now? What would be the directive number one?
Okay.
That's an action.
Dom shards on a vendor. Domination shards on a vendor. I'd probably increase some of your Stygian Embers, or just do something where you can access the domination shards just on a vendor. so that it is just a little bit more deterministic. Because I think having the RNG on the shards and then also like, do you actually have the the gear to put it in is like it has not come together to be a super satisfying experience. So I think you could quite easily fix that bit up for the raid gear. If we're maybe going to look into the future and stuff like that, then okay. So VP and JP, I think, need to come in. So we need Valor points that are earned in a vaguely similar way to how you get them now, just that they are used for the acquisition of gear, right? And yes, in a more deterministic fashion, and then using Justice points either for... I mean, one of our ideas was Justice points, but maybe only up to a certain level for upgrades. And then, you know, maybe you have to use VP for further upgrades past that point. So there will be some spreadsheety balancing work to do in that, but I think there needs to be, basically need JP back in the game. I mean, there needs to be a situation where, you know, say Dakor is coming to help. Let's just say, I really hope it happens, but let's just say tomorrow he decides, yeah, you know, I do want to go do some mythic dungeons with those boys, even though I've already got KSM. Let's just say he says that. Please. No, let's say he says that. It would be cool if at the same time he'd also get a bunch of JP, right? Some Justice points. And then maybe with those Justice points, he could buy some things that, you know, maybe he has an alt. Well, maybe he could use those Justice points on that alt that could help that alt get some catch-up gear or, you know, things like that, right? So I think if we can bring Justice points into the design space of World of Warcraft, there's just a lot more that we can do. Right, there's a lot more we can do, and we can ensure that more content feels good. Because even if you were to get Justice points from time walking, that would be another way for the time walking weekend to feel interesting and novel to people. And it would be a reason for mains to do it beyond just the 226 box of loot. Right, so that's like just one tiny little thing. But I think that could really make that type of content just, you know, more rewarding. It's that sort of thing where in Shadowlands, I like how we don't have Titan Forging. I like how they've kept the gear more simple. I think that is truly good. But the thing is, in the past when we had systems like that, we had VP and JP, right? And I feel like they need something like that to exist. So that's like a little bit there. And, you know, I think it'd be good if, you know, when you're raiding, you get some VP. And, you know, you actually just make it so that's like PvE progression. Now, it is just that thing where a number of cats are out of the bag with M+. M+ is going to compete with Raid. That's really tricky. You know, it would be cool if you had VP coming from both of those things. And enough so that a Raider is going to cap on it by doing their Raid. And an M+er is going to cap on it by doing M+. But maybe there's like a set the M+ers could buy with it. Or, you know, some stuff the Raiders could buy with it that, you know, is applicable to their type of content. Maybe something like that would, you know, would make sense or be nice. So it's tricky, but basically more things going on there so that things feel a little bit more rewarding. And I actually think that you could do a system like that to the point where it is more rewarding in terms of gear per day of game played than it is right now. But then you remove the Great Vault.
Interesting.
You know, you remove the Great Vault. Like, say for the PvP gear. You know, like, look, what if you remove the Great Vault, but you increase the Conquest cap?
I certainly see where you're going with this.
That's something where players could work towards their goals and it'll be thrown onto an RNG thing less. And I think that would be a healthy change. Now, you could have something like for the Great Vault. I mean, certainly, you know, giving some of the casual, maybe the World Questers, you know, people like that. You know, a big bunch of something at the end of the week. You know, that's one idea. Another thing too, like, you know, killing Sylvanas should get you more than 72 gold. You know, killing Sylvanas should give you something big. Like, look, the first time I kill Sylvanas, give me 10,000 gold and 10,000 anima. Because you just killed Sylvanas. Not killed, you know, defeated. I think that would be, you know, yeah, really big. And sure, make that once per account if you really need to you know, to make a balance so that people aren't just, you know, going and, you know, get an alt, power it up, do that in LFR, collect your 10,000 gold. But I think it would be great if it would be interesting. It would be more, it would just feel better to kill her. And ideally something in the way of like a unique reward you get for killing that end boss. I think that would be really healthy. So that's one thing. So Dom Socks, we've talked about those. We've talked about VP and JP. You know, for me, a lot of stuff comes onto content focus. you know? So I think about the storytelling of the game and the reputations. Imagine if, for the Wild Hunt, imagine if you do it this way. The Covenant story is very much tied in with Sylvanas and the Jailer, and those big problems, and the big story of the expansion. And that is actually the main campaign you do while you're leveling up in Ardenweald. Like, Sylvanas is actually in Ardenweald, killing the fuck out of us, because it's Sylvanas, we should be scared of her. But then, if you want to care about our Drust, and our Gorms, and our Animacones, and all of those things, perhaps that's something you do with the Wild Hunt. And then imagine that the Wild Hunt is doing that quest content, also covering the world quests, and then you get large story beats with the Wild Hunt reputation as you move, you know, from Friendly to Honored. Or maybe, you know, halfway through Revered, you unlock a new big bit of the quest line. A little bit like the patch 5.1 stuff. I think that would be a way better way of framing all of that. That would, just for the, you know, for the, I say casual, but it's not a bad thing. I like casual. I think WoW needs to do better by the casual players. Yeah, and, you know, make it so that there's less mounts. But, you know, you do that for the Wild Hunt. You unlock, you know, just the color tints are on a vendor. Pick the one you want, but make the mount harder to get. You know, I would like to strip things away from the big rares and treasures and put them more into content that you can, like, just go and work at and do and grind in a way where you know you're working towards something, instead of just like, I'm going to kill this rare and hope. You know, Asmund was telling me about, you know, his fun time of trying to, you know, he got to kill a rare on every single, like, you know, loot spec or whatever to get the different things, where it's like, that's obviously not super, you know, going to feel super good. So there's a bunch there in the storytelling. You know, it's like, we need to get rid of the WoW quest menu thing, and we need to make the dialogue, well, feel like dialogue between our characters. I'd remove that othering language like champion, Mawwalker, that just, you know that it's just a stand-in term because you're playing a video game. Because you can just refer by saying, oh yeah, thanks, I really appreciate it when you helped me out last time. Versus, thanks, I appreciate when you helped me out last time, Mawwalker. The second you add Mawwalker in, I think you lose a bit. You lose a bit with the player relationship. Because if Jaina, you know, if I know Jaina, and I've quested with Jaina for ages, and she starts calling me by a weird title, I'm like, Jaina, we go back. Just say you. Oh, you know, thanks for helping me. That's all it needs to be, because my character already knows Jaina. So there's a bunch of, like, little things there. And then, you know, you move into, like, time walking, making time walking a bit more evergreen, making it to, like, a far bigger system, and starting to work out how we can leverage years of incredible content. And then, you know, I think we need to do stuff back on Azeroth. I think it should just be ongoing that, you know, while we're going through the Shadowlands expansion, there should be Alliance and Horde, you know, content every patch about overcoming Teldrassil and overcoming, you know, Undercity. I think that should be a B plot that's happening, because that's what's going on in the world. And I think that would help to better connect people to the world. And, you know, if you're helping out the Night Elves, you get some cool Mogs, you know, you get a cool mount, you get a cool title. I wish there was more stuff that Blizzard could reward us with. But, you know, that's the sort of content I would like to see that roots us to the world. And then, like, if you're going way, way, way bigger, you know, there's a lot of engineering they need to do. You know, like, make a player housing system, give us a good way to, like, to earn rewards for the player housing. Mount the Skull of Onyxia. Like, just imagine, you know, the player housing system comes out, and they actually tie in all of the game's past raid. Or imagine they do player housing, they also do a time walking thing, and they make it so the player housing stuff comes from the time walking version of all of the content, and time walking's always on. I mean, I'm fairly sure I'd be like, hey, guys, want to get a 10-man together, go do some old raids, get some cool shit for our houses. Like, that would be really cool. But they haven't done the engineering for that yet, right? They haven't set that up. Same way Zach was talking about, you know, a cool thing to, you know, mount the head of the beast you've slain on your mount. Kind of like Witcher. Can't do that right now. That's tech issues. So is there a system where you could have little mounting points on mounts? I mean, I don't know, but if they did that, they could do more in terms of rewarding players. So I think and then, you know, other things, what I'd really go for is, making True Shot Lodge be an evergreen part of being a hunter. And then I mentioned this in Warcraft, having class masteries that are just evergreen utility that your class has, and just that stuff you can unlock. And, maybe that can be just unique, flavorful ways to travel around the world, unique little side goals and things, or even just doing some content to make True Shot Lodge look cooler. There's a lot they could do there. So that's the sort of vibe I'd be going for if I was to maybe more properly answer the question that Rich asked me. It's by no means complete. This is, I'd have to actually sit down and properly think about it, but that's my vibe. What do you think?
I don't really think a whole pile on top of that, because that was just a deluge of shit that they should have been doing for years, ostensibly. It's like people are pointing out in chat that there's a lot of what you said is very much what FF succeeds at, what even Genshin succeeds at with player housing stuff. It's all of these features that players have loved in MMOs and really want in MMOs, but Blizzard haven't deigned to do so. They've just...
Yeah, and to bring that further, you mentioned Darkmoon Faire. Make it always be open.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of side games in that. Put a currency in it. Actually, maybe do some gambling or something. Just go full into that.
Yeah.
Have more there and have the fair just always be open. And really double down on making it cool. And then, for the events, let's go way bigger in the events. That would be a good reason for people to log in. If they're like, hey, we've revamped Brewfest. It's like 5 times bigger. It's really big now. It's awesome. It feels like a mini patch zone in terms of the things you can do. I mean, bam. People will be coming back for that. So I think that's another sort of side project they should have going on. But it's that sort of thing. It's like they're so focused on just that like little bit of the end game that the broader big shared world thing kind of falls by the wayside sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's fundamentally like I think that's where a lot of the quiet dissent would be, or maybe not quite dissent, but like the quiet leaving, the quiet kind of dissatisfaction. The people who don't log in and go, well, the people who log in and go, there's no one really on, or, there's people on, but, 5 of them went off into a dungeon. I was the 6th. I logged on a bit late. What'll I do? Do I pug something and throw me off kilter in terms of, if 5 people hopped into a dungeon and then you hop into a dungeon 15 minutes later, they'll be in a new one by the time you're done. There's nothing for you to just go, oh, well, I guess I'll kill time by doing something. There's nothing meaningful anyway.
Yeah.
Because the only thing to do is world quests or old content that has a lockout. That's not really, it feels like you're doing old content as opposed to, it being revitalized. Because the one thing that, if we're going to continue riffing on this stuff, I feel like the idea of, raid starting in 20 minutes, what can I do for 20 minutes? Now, I think a lot of people answer, go for a walk, go grab a snack, go grab a drink, sit down, open YouTube for 20 minutes. Where if World of Warcraft really wanted to feel like a world, it would be, if you go back and run, Blackwing Descent for the 5 millionth time.
Yeah.
Even if, that's just a joke how much I've done it, but if you go back and, you've cleared it, then you get a box of many things, but for old content. And you kind of feel like, I can make progress. I can earn a currency from old raids that will upgrade this box that'll let me go faster in old raids. The kind of thing of turning all that old content into something that feels useful and meaningful without even a whole bunch of effort on top of it.
Yeah.
Literally just, even if you remove a lockout. If you remove a lockout, then going for Invincible, say, isn't something you do like an hour or so every week or something like that. It is, it's something you can sit down and do for an evening before raid. So as an example for us, I'd say I get home about 5:30 or so. Raid starts in 75 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, spend 30 minutes, go to the auction house, get prepared, read up whatever we're doing, get people together, etc. But then I was like, what'll I do? I guess I'll go target a thing and farm it out. Whereas not to harp on about FF, but it kind of has that with roulette stuff, that are all these kind of small things you can just do that give you your poetics, which can be, you can buy whatever with them. You can buy alt gear, you can buy gear, you can get all stuff.
I guess the poetic, that's like JP, kind of.
Poetics is roughly enough to JP, or it's like one step below JP almost.
Okay, gotcha.
Because you've got at max level, you've got your VP and JP equivalents, but then you've got poetics, which are like you earn them for basically doing any kind of content at any level, so you can spend it on like low level gear as well to catching up. So it's let's think of a term that could actually be used for that. It's like valor points, justice points, and then I don't know what's lighter than justice. Slap on the wrist points. I don't know, something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that'd be great. So a VP JP could really help, and then even if you called it like change the name of the time walking currency, something that just feels a bit more evergreen, and work out what to do with that. That's interesting. That's interesting. I'd love to have a little farm.
Yeah.
I'd love to have like farming as a skill.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, farming is not farming the land, farming old stuff, farming.
Oh no, I meant farming.
Oh, you mean farming literal, like?
Oh no, dude, I actually mean farming.
Like you want to go and buy Sakana of rice and ruin, get some rice farming on the go, like, but in World of Warcraft.
Sure thing, sure thing.
Yep.
You know, you have like little homestead, little farm. Like, oh cool, I'll check in, manage my farm.
Yeah.
And you know, if you do that, you know, make that okay. Probably have to be instanced or something. But you know, you get larger and larger, and then you're like have your little bit of side farm progression. You know, you keep that going. That's just like a really cool thing to exist in the game. That's definitely wishful thinking. But I think the mop one was. I wish I did it more at the time.
See, that's what I was actually just about to say that. Why isn't the Half Hill farm used? Why can't we bring seeds from other expansions over to the Half Hill farm and grow them there? Like, it doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to be incredible in any way. It literally just has to be, oh yeah, let's just go. You know, I've still got my Hearthstone set to the shrine. I'll fly over and maybe I'll get some stuff from it. It's the kind of thing where it's those small touches. It's those small little things that just kind of make people want to go, you know, I've got something to do that feels vaguely meaningful. Instead of world quests, which are soup or sludge or whatever you want to call it.
Soupy sludge. Yep. Yeah, big. Man, it's interesting. Look, it's that thing. Azeroth's a great world. All this stuff's super cool. We all like it a lot. It would not be that hard to enact very big change. And it's, you know what? It's that thing. WoW doesn't actually need to have any of these things down perfectly. I think if it just moves a little bit in that direction, people will be so, just so happy, right? They'll be happy that they feel understood and they feel like it's moving in that better direction. Because I think that's, it's kind of funny. Their plot's been about killing hope for a long time, and they themselves have done that a bit, in the sort of just being a bit stonewalled in terms of communications. A lot of times we do get communications. It's them saying like, no, man, the thing we did, we actually were happy with how it turned out, even though a lot of the more vocal players are not particularly happy. Which, they keep on saying that. And it's like they could have numbers that we don't know about, but certainly I looked at some of the Mythic Plus numbers. They ain't great. Looking at some stuff about who's returned in PvP, and there's some not particularly great numbers there. Yeah, so I don't know if I believe him too much that it's not just, a bit of PR speak where they kind of can't admit that something was a big problem. It's hard to say, but point is, people want WoW to be so good that it doesn't have to be perfect. They just need to feel heard, and it's moving a little bit in the right direction. I know there's a lot of people at Blizzard, I know for a fact, for an actual fact, that with all of the things the community's been angry about, there have been a lot of people at Blizzard who have been angry internally. Now, unfortunately, they were either not heard or, they were kind of just rolled over and they did whatever they did. But, it's important people know that there are loads and loads of people at Blizzard who do actually agree, who did not want Covenants to be the way that they were. There are loads of people at Blizz. We just have to, my hope is that the community talking will give those people a bit more credibility, because in any sort of retrospective view of things, the people in the WoW team will be like, okay, we really thought that this design was the one to go for. Didn't work out that well, and Billy over there actually did call it before any of us. The internal preach, right, who calls the issue early. I think Bart actually, one of our members said, I think Michael said it best in Allcraft. Why can't expansions be additive? And my line was basically like, sometimes expansions feel subtractive. mean, especially moving to anywhere from Legion was almost always going to feel subtractive. But yeah, it's like if there's an expansion and it actually just offers the bare minimum in terms of the new content, but does a whole bunch of systems and stuff that, you know, maybe gives you like a big evergreen time walking thing, like, you know, a revamp like time walking V2. It's like that would feel like a true expansion. Because you're getting a new thing, but also like the base game is being expanded. Or if there's a player housing or a farming or, you know, a feature like that stands to the game forever, people are like, oh, cool. There's a new feature coming, and it's not just coming to World of Warcraft 10.0. It's coming to World of Warcraft. And then that gives people, you know, inspires them with the confidence that this game is actually growing and getting bigger. You know, if they add player housing in and they say, hey, this isn't an expansion build around feature. We've actually went back to old expansion content, made bits of it relevant, and put rewards in for player housing into those, and we're going to keep it going into the future. Now, I know not everyone's into player housing, but certainly that would make people think, oh, damn, this feature they've added is actually entirely, you know, it stands the game forever. And then because people would know that, they'd be more willing to put in time to do some big, silly grinds. And like even somebody there mentioned patches feeling subtractive. Yeah, you know, the amount of people running Uldir dried up as soon as Desire Lore came out. That's an issue WoW's had for ages. And, you know, you explained to me how in FF, if a raid isn't constant, you could kind of just farm it out again and again and again and again. And I'd wonder, is there any thoughts we could do there for WoW, you know? Any ways that, you know, let's just say we've got a new person coming up or a new alt or something. Could we... I guess that's the thing. It wouldn't make much sense to do heroic Nathria runs because you just do normal Sanctum. But would there be a way to do that with, you know, with a past raid? You know, maybe do you make it so that the eye level bloat is smaller and, you know, it would be viable in this patch to quickly gear up a new person by rolling through Nathria? Or maybe it's that thing where, you know, some of the Nathria gear is available for Justice points now. So that can let people do a bunch of stuff to catch up their alts. Because if you had that, and then you also had a situation where the Covenant locking wasn't so much of a pain in the ass for alts and multi-specking, then, you know, people be like, okay, cool, new patch. I've done a whole bunch of stuff in Sanctum. I've got a whole bunch of JP. I actually have enough that I can get this tune up to speed in basically no time. And for the way that WoW ends up getting played at endgame, I think that would be a really good idea.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward because the only way I can, you know, bring a kind of point to this that's really like what they could be doing and how to get across that is because like FF does that really well, but it does that through storyline stuff. It's like maybe not the old maybe the old content isn't always hyper relevant, but you do go through it at least once because it's tied to the story content.
Yeah.
And that's like the fact that raids are linear in terms of actual unlocking as well as interesting, because when I was going through Eden, like, because Eden is one raid, it's 12 bosses, but it was released throughout the expansion. Like, it's, you know, it's roughly the equivalent of, like, you know, half of Nathria's out patch 1, half of Nathria's out patch 2. You can't do the last half of Nathria without doing the first half of Nathria. So it is, like, it is effectively the same storyline, but over time. So whenever I come into it for extra deity, I don't go straight to, like, Eden 9 through 12.
Yeah.
I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is content that's been added over patches. So I do have this like storyline progression. I am doing old stuff. I have to do it at least once to actually see it and finish it. And then gear wise, all that stuff's largely irrelevant, and I can just like skip up with crafted gear, or I can, you know, as I actually ended up doing, I can just farm E11 for a bit because it's a really fun boss fight. So I can just queue up for it again and again, get loads of stuff because the lockout's gone. So it's the idea of if Nathria gave competitive enough gear in terms of difficulty wise, because I think that's one of the problems, because when you said why do heroic Nathria when you can do normal Sanctum, that's kind of one of the problems where the difficulty is kind of similar enough. But it's the idea of it would be really, really fun if you could just do normal Nathria all day long and then do that to get into normal Sanctum instead of having to run around Korthia like a lunatic, picking up everything to get Korthia
to me
gear.
That would be more exciting. Yeah,
that's like, that would be a valid option to actually do that, you know, instead of spending all your gold at the auction house to get 200 gear and a 230 piece,
especially if there was less trash.
Yeah,
because actually if you told me that it was Nathria but a boss rush and that's how I could gear up an alt and I could do the boss rush a few times, I'd be like, holy shit boys, let's go. But if it's that thing where, you know, only a third of the time or half the time is spent fighting a boss because everything's a one-shot,
Yeah.
it's doing the trash. For me, I've never enjoyed trash. I was one of those people. I like trial. In 4-3? 4-3? 3-3? 3-2.
What are we talking about?
3-1? 3-2. Patch 3.2.
Yes. Sounds like patch. How is it patch 4?
Whoa.
Yeah. Man. Yeah.
Thinking here, actually. So it's WoW News. We're going to kick that off in
just over 15 minutes.
Yeah, we also need to get food.
Yeah, so we should probably take a break and run out and grab something. And
should I put in delivery order? Do
Uh,
a little mukbang for everyone, or should we? I don't know what to do, really.
Yeah, we've kind of not really thought this through.
We've kind of fucked it.
Yeah, but you know what? Whatever works.
So it'll need to be food that we can eat reasonably on stream.
Yeah, or we could take turns manning the while shoving food into us at full speed. Which in other words means get something very, very, very quick quick to eat.
Yeah, just inhale a sausage supper all at once.
Yeah, just open up Just Eat, order some Greg's sausage rolls. Just done.
No.
Job done. No, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Yeah, so we should probably move to the actual other stream as well.
Yes.
From
Okay.
this one.
So that's the thing. Remember, guys, this is YouTube streaming, not Twitch. So it's not like it's just one channel.
Yeah.
Whenever we end this, we are going to need to throw you guys.
Yep.
Funny enough, I do play WoW. It's a bit of a clown statement to respond to that.
Yeah. So the stream was early today because it was intended as a super chat catch-up stream, but I scheduled it and then didn't get the super chats ready in time because we were doing news recording and also how do I put this lightly? Other things cropped up. That took some time away from focused work. So
I mean, at least the other thing that cropped up, like, genuinely provided us with so much laughs and entertainment, like, just in the company.
I feel like a new man today. Like, it's fantastic.
Oh, it is very funny.
So we've got I'll have to enable supers once we end the stream and move to the next one.
Yeah.
I'll turn those on so we are back to completely everything normal. Then I'll get a form up for people who miss supers to just throw in like, well, hey, we missed this. We'll go over it, etc., and then that's it. I guess so.
I'm just going to grab the stream link for everyone.
Yeah.
Just to tell everyone where to go.
Yep.
Get shareable link, and I'll pin it in chat. Okay.
Yeah. Also, it is also on the channel. It's very handy. I wish can I be a smarty? Can I be a smarty pants? Live redirect. Let's go. Can
What's
I do this?
that?
Oh yeah, I can just direct people when the stream ends, so they'll move automatically. You know, the hosting thing from thing.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I don't know how any of that works.
Features.
I'm just going to drop the link so that people know, and I'll pin it.
Yeah. Yeah. So once this ends, people will be moving over there anyway. But
So we've got 15 minutes. I think that means we can't just go get a bow or something.
No.
Probably needs to be a Deliveroo because we need to be in the office.
Yeah, go for it.
In which case,
Yeah,
in Kamakura rice bowls, 10,
Go for
20 minutes.
go for it.
Just do
Now
that.
Now we'll take turns eating.
Yeah. Or wait, is Ginza Kitchen open? Ginza's really good.
Yeah, this is
Should probably sort by time though.
very much a sort of behind the scenes almost look. This is
Yes.
certainly not a very regular thing for us to do. Also,
So if I do it by time right, there's Thai Village.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet. There's KFC. Which
Nope.
is
No, thank you.
Definitely a big sick.
Nope.
Donbury rice bowls
Mhm.
by Kamakura, which could be good.
Good.
Boojum.
Be good, Boojum.
Don't want to have a food coma on stream.
Nah.
Turkey street food.
Turkey street food. Now, like the last time I ordered from there, I seriously took me 45 minutes to eat. So no, that is an obscene amount of food.
Oh man. So
It's fantastic, but
Ginza Kitchen,
it's a lot
but
of food.
see, I feel like it needs to be a form of food that is like stream edible, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's somewhere here called Hometown Restaurant.
Oh, that's the place. Is this even reasonable to say on stream? Yeah, it is. Fuck it, let's go. So it's just up the street there. No,
Yeah.
sorry, no, it's on Stromels.
Ah.
But I always remember. I saw it for. I think it might have been the first time I saw it when I was with a friend of mine who very much enjoys the Senran Kagura series. And what is it that the creator of Senran Kagura always said? I think it was tits or life, ass is hometown.
That is what he said. Yes.
So that's what he said because that's an etchy series. So so I remember saying hometown restaurant, and that saying cropped into my head. I'm just like, okay, I have to eat there sometime. But yeah, so why do you guys cook your own food? Because we have because we have stream in 13 minutes. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll probably.
This is so hard to work out. That's it. We'll get a big curry. Shove in a vindaloo. Easy.
Yeah, 2 McDoubles, large fries, vanilla shakes, 6 McNugget barbecue sauce. No, all right. Just order sushi, easy to eat while streaming. That's actually pretty smart.
That's big smart.
Yeah. Lalafell tastes good. I mean, I don't really want to think about that. Actually, I mean, if they're sentient potatoes, I'm sure if you like had a nice stew, a couple bits of beef, bits of carrot, bits of mashed up lalafell, like, all right.
Yeah, because the only thing I've had today is a yogurt, and I just realized it's 6:20.
Oh yeah.
So that's probably why I feel like I've ran out of energy.
Yeah, we don't have any Red Bull in the fridge. It's sad. But yeah,
It's sad. Chicken Tetsuda Donburi.
Go for it.
Let's fucking go,
Hit us
boys.
with 2 of those, and then
Do that.
we'll-
Get some 3 gyoza, because gyoza is very stream edible food.
Yep.
So I'll get that. There you go. Chuck that order in.
All right. Oh, let's just.
This is the premium content.
Yeah, evil potato stew. That's exactly it. That's exactly.
Ah,
it.
dear. But we should have a good news stream coming up for you guys.
Yep. It is,
I need to look at the notes. All I know is vaguely quite a
I
lot's
took a little
happened.
little glance for the murder, and to be honest with you, a significant amount of it is Dakor salt, which is great. But
Well, he is a cutting edge raider, right? So the
Yep.
CE people are going to be a little bit
salted by it all.
salted. I mean, there was that like world first raider put in all that work, got dicked by RNG, and just ended up crying in his hotel room.
Perfecto had a bit of a breakdown over, it's like you can laugh all you want, like haha, grown man crying over video game, but like as far as most people are concerned, they are going for best in the world. They are going for proper athlete tier stuff where they put
gotcha.
months in. That's like their full time job, and then the game system just went. Nah, sorry. It's kind of weird. It's almost like imagine going to the Olympics for something that's like maybe not like a super like optimized or popular sport. Like you're not going for boxing, but you're going for something like, I mean, I'm trying to think of something like curling. I guess you go into the Olympics for curling, and you're going to be like you've put all the hours in. You're going to be best in the world. Your country's like really proud of you and stuff. And then you show up, and then the Olympics people are like, and today we have, sorry, when we were handing out the curling sticks, whatever they're called, yours doesn't actually have a way to grip the curly, what do you call those things?
I
Puck.
have no idea
Curling
how curling
puck.
works.
Yeah. But it's the idea of just showing up at the Olympics, like, right, okay, the 3 of us are going to be, like, we're going for gold, going for silver, going for bronze. We can make the gold. And the Olympics committee said no curling sticks allowed for your team specifically for no reason. Like, sweet. Well, I can't actually compete in this because my equipment is gone because of how the actual rules of the sport are set up.
Yeah, tricky.
So it's
Tricky. Yeah, it's that weird thing where it's like the only people who could possibly enjoy a system like that are the people who like big care about the numbers and performance and all that jazz.
Yep.
But it's also the type of content or like the system that they don't actually seem to like. So it's like it's not really serving anyone. It's just kind of getting our way.
I think that's a problem.
But yeah, it should be fun, and I'll try to throw in another few. Sweet.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, awesome.
Food
Yeah,
is on the way.
stream starts in 9 minutes. I am sorry. I am actually going to troll you all. I will play the starting soon. The whole 3 minutes, 30 seconds. The whole intro again.
It's gotta happen.
You can do that. You can do that. And that is definitely not anything to do with me trying to buy time for making sure the capture card works.
Nothing
Not
to
at
do
all.
with that. No
No.
way. Yeah. So
No,
on
sir.
that, right, is our thing to do a stream redirect and this stream?
Start the next one straight away? Yeah, well, within a couple minutes, yeah.
I don't know how we do that, but
I'll give it up.
okay, cool. Let's do that.
I've got all of the tools at my my disposal.
I think yes. So
I'm sure I do. It's fine.
how do we?
No, I can do it in a second, but we'll say one of I am again missing my monitoring station because I now have a Rodecaster Pro down here. I know Black Madam.
Jingo has said, do you actually like the Total War Warhammer series? You said you love Shogunum. Oh, I know it's that thing, right? I actually don't play any video games ever. I hate all of them, even though I've put like many hours into Shogun 2 recently.
Doesn't even know what a video game is.
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, I like the Warhammer ones a lot. I prefer historical generally, and I think Shogun 2 is the best historical. It's the combat in Shogun 2 is just so perfect.
Yeah.
And okay, I really like Legend of Total War. He's like one of the YouTubers I watch quite a bit. But I do feel like when the meta of a game turns into Doomstacks and stuff, then it can get like just a little bit degen in terms of the gameplay. So, you know, I'm interested in what they do with Warhammer 3, I'll put it that way, and I have had a lot of fun playing those games. It's just, I want a situation where, you know, if I put it on Legendary, it's not hidden combat modifiers that are, you know, making it so that my troops lose. You know, I want my troops to lose because they're losing on, like, fair terms. And I don't know. It just seems like they have a bunch of AI issues to overcome, but that, like, Shogun 2 was a more tightly scoped game. Like, I just feel like the AI in Shogun 2 is the best there's been in a Total War game. But yeah, I mean, admittedly, it's way harder to get that for the Warhammers. But I'm excited for Warhammer 3. I mean, come on, Blood for the Blood God. It's going to be good.
Yep. So it's now 18:23, which means I think the correct move is to end the stream, start the next one in 7 minutes, and then we will be back to... back to normal, back to doing the stuff. The WoW news, it's a big week. Loads of stuff's happened. Everyone's very upset. Some people are happy, I think, but most people are quite upset.
Little bit. That said, I do want to talk about my impressions of some things because there has been a bunch of fun in our gameplay plans because there are actually good things to talk about.
Yep, absolutely, definitely. So we will catch you guys in a short
very soon.
Of time.
I pinned the link. The link's up at the top, and Matt's going to do a redirect thing. Yep. We'll be back in like 6